Cigar Club family, welcome back to another episode right here on the Cigar Club podcast. I'm your host, Dave Imber, and joining me today is no one. You're stuck with me for the whole podcast today, but don't go anywhere. If you just thought about exiting from here, you're going to want to stick around. This is the Cigar Club family Q&A episode. You've asked questions, and I'm here to answer them on this beautiful Tuesday. Let me just start off by saying it's officially fall weather here in Cincy, and I personally could not be more excited. The doors in the office are open. I'm smoking a cigar I haven't smoked since we released it, CigarClub Customs Volume 2 Macaso from our dear friends at the Aganorsa Cigar Company factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. This cigar always reminded me of colder months. It's a little stronger. It's very flavorful. It's sweet. It's got that cinnamon kick I love. And today just felt like the right day to do it. So before we dive into these questions, I want to welcome anybody new to the podcast. Thank you guys for hanging out and listening. Make sure you check out a bunch of our previous episodes from the months prior. We've had such an amazing time on the first season of the Cigar Club podcast. Both myself and Pew have... Oh, there goes my camera. Let's see if it comes back. We're back. Both myself and Pew have really enjoyed diving into a lot of topics, interviewing brand owners, manufacturers, and I've had the amazing opportunity of traveling all around this side of our world, from the Caribbean and through different parts here in the U.S., to bring you guys behind the scenes on what it is to be a part of the cigar industry. So I'm excited to dive through. I've picked 6 of my favorite questions that I think you guys would enjoy answering, and then would love to encourage you guys, if you have any other questions for the podcast, if you'd like to see certain guests on the show, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, Dave at CigarClub.com, and Pew, P-U-G-H at CigarClub.com, and we will get those answered. All right. I don't know why my camera keeps going out, but we're rolling with it, people. First question in. This is coming from Broadleaf and Bourbon on Instagram. That's at Broadleaf and Bourbon. Love the handle, by the way. He asked, what is your current favorite cigar size, and what sizes are your least favorite? Now, there is a lot of you that probably know the answer to this because it's one of those things we harp on quite a bit around Cigar Club. And for me, I would have to say current favorite cigar size is really anything by, oh man, I've got 3. I'm going to go with 3 here. I love 44s, 46s, and 48 ring gauges. Those are my sweet spot. The size, the length doesn't matter as much to me. I'm generally not reaching for like a 7 by 48, but anywhere between a 4 and a 6 by 44, 46, or 48. That is my sweet spot. To me, it's where I find the best variation and separation of filler, binder, and wrapper tobaccos. It's where that kind of, you get enough of the wrapper still, even at a 48, definitely at a 44. You still get the ratios correct with the filler and binder, and it comes together to create a beautiful cigar. Now, I will say, funny enough, I'm smoking a 52 right now. The Macaso cigar that we released back in April comes in at 5 1/4 by 52. Now, one of the reasons we did that is because I wanted to use an old cigar mold called a 109. It's that rounded torpedo cap, which I've clipped off here if you're watching on YouTube. But it's just a little tapered. It's not pointy like a torpedo, but it's just a beautiful size that I've always loved. And it's one of those ones I've smoked a couple times from different brands at Aganorsa. And I really wanted to use it when we launched this cigar. Now, the caveat is when you use a 109 there, it only comes in 1 ring gauge, which is a 52. I'd sampled everything in a 48 and a 50, found a blend I really loved and wanted to work with. And so it was my first time really having to adapt a blend that I loved with a cigar size. So we increased some higher priming components of this cigar to make sure that strength and flavor still came through, even in the bigger ring gauge. And like most things Aganorsa does, they just absolutely nailed it. So those are the top three cigar sizes for me. And then, love this question. What are your least favorite cigar sizes? Now, this can get pretty controversial, I think, throughout cigars, especially there's a big gap that I find between consumer and manufacturer or retailer. Your 7x70s, your 6x60s, these big, massive cigar sizes are popular amongst a lot of consumers, and that's what they enjoy to smoke. And you'll never hear me tell somebody that they're wrong because of a type of cigar they like, of a size of a cigar they like, infused, not infused. However you enjoy cigars and the people you enjoy them with, to me, that's what matters most. But when it comes to my personal preference, I generally don't smoke anything larger than a 54, and a 54 is kind of pushing it for me. There is a rare occurrence in some blends that I've had in a 60 that I've enjoyed. I think there's only been one that we've ever put in a box over the past couple of years that I've been here, and it was the Sereno Medio 6x60. It's a beautiful cigar, and it's the only one we've put of that size. It's the only one we've put that's over a 54, actually, in our boxes. And there's reason behind that, and it's because it smoked really well in that size, and I know there's a lot of people that enjoy that, so wanted to give them that opportunity to smoke something they loved in a size that they loved. But my personal preference, anything over a 54, you're going to see me far away from it, on the other side of the humidor, grabbing something smaller. I love Lanceros, of course, small Coronas, but keep me in that 44 to 48 size, and I'm a happy camper. So thank you again to Broadleaf and Bourbon for that question. All right, moving forward. Also, just want to quick call out. I know we missed last week's podcast. We had a bunch of people in and out of the office that week, but we're back on a good routine schedule. You'll see us every Tuesday until we end the season 1 of the Cigar Club podcast, which will end sometime in the beginning of December, and we'll pick things right back up in the new year with more brand interviews, more deep dives into the creation of our customs and exclusive cigars, and answering more questions like these. All right, Jimmy Purchase on Instagram asked, what is your least favorite tasting note in a cigar? And what is your least favorite tasting note in whiskey? This is a loaded question, and I definitely should have reviewed these in more detail before the kick of this episode, but it's really interesting. I used to have vendettas out against different types of tobacco, Brazilian tobacco, Colombian tobacco, Indonesian tobacco. I was always biased against it. And I think a lot of that comes from my time spent in coffee, and those being the kind of regions and coffees that I didn't love. I kind of moved that over and translated it to cigars, just assuming I wouldn't like them either, and wanting to really stick with Honduran, Nicaraguan, and Dominican tobaccos. But since I started smoking more and more blends, since we started smoking a lot more blind blends when we're testing some new blends for boxes, or we're blending a new Cigar Club Customs, or testing blends for a new Cigar Club exclusive, sometimes those tobaccos sneak in without me knowing, and I end up really enjoying that cigar. Really, I think what has stuck out more to me is certain profiles that I just don't love. One is a heavy smoke on the palate, almost like this kind of campfire, woodsy, outdoor note that a lot of cigars have, and there's a lot of people that's what they gravitate towards, that dense, heavy, smoky tobacco taste. Not for me. I love a cigar that leaves your palate clean. There's also like cigars that have a heavy earth note. Earth and black pepper are kind of like their primary focus. Not really my favorite either. I love a cigar that moves more into your baking spice categories, your cinnamons, sweet caramels, nougats, rich, and then again when you blow it out, it kind of leaves a clean taste on your mouth. And I don't dislike strength, and I don't dislike that kind of spicy aspect of a lot of cigars. I actually really enjoy it. I love full flavored cigars. I love floral notes and different pieces like that. It just, when something's really earthy, kind of campfirey, peppery, I'm moving farther away from that type of cigar. The times that I find myself smoking those, I'll always grab a bottle of bourbon or something sweeter that I can to kind of offset that. You know, it's a lot more difficult to do these solo podcasts without Pew to bounce things off of and take pauses so I can puff my cigar. But we're going to make it work. Okay. Jimmy Purchase also asked least favorite tasting notes in whiskey. Oh, man. That's a tough one. I do not like peat. So I'm pretty out on any form of scotches. That kind of really, again, it's that same trend, that campfirey, smoky flavor. Count me out. Not my cup of tea. Not where I gravitate to. I love proofy bourbons that are butterscotchy, sweet, have a little fruit element to them. Even if they have a little more barrel and oak char to them, give them to me. If it comes to anything peat related, send me on my way. There's also a lot of toasted barrels that I'm not a huge fan of. That to me is where it can get a little too oaky. I don't mind the oak when it comes to age, but when they've like recharred the barrel and put it back in to toast it, or like double oaks, I'm a little more picky when it comes to those kind of whiskeys, and more specifically, bourbons. All right, we've got another great question here from none other than at Isaac the Great 23. If you guys aren't following Isaac on Instagram, I'd recommend you go check him out. He's got some beautiful photography where he's always sharing his Cigar Club boxes and really his cigar journey, which we'll get to at another question here in a little bit, but it's how I got into the cigar industry. Came a lot through media and photography and Instagram. But Isaac asked, how can I taste more flavors in my cigars? Any other better ways of doing so? Now, the short, quick, easy answer is smoke different cigars. And when you smoke, jot down what you are getting. I think a lot of times we fall into this habit of the reviewer culture where you're coming up with these obscure tasting notes. And if you're not tasting, the nutmeg and the lemon meringue pie in your cigar, you feel like you are way out in left field and you know nothing about cigars and it just tastes like smoke to you. Let's reel that in here real quick, because I think a cigar is really only as important as what you think it tastes like. And that might be simple for you. This is spicy. This cigar is smooth. This cigar tastes creamy. It's sweet. It changed from spicy to sweet. It tastes like tobacco to me. Start to just jot down every now and then when you're smoking a cigar if there's something that stands out that you notice. Now, there are times where I'll fire up some reviews while I'm smoking a cigar, and I might not get the lemon meringue pie, but I might think, oh, it's kind of citrusy or sour. Maybe that's what he's talking about, but he's driving it home with a really distinct flavor or a really distinct note. I don't think we always get to that point, but you can kind of start to decipher what you're tasting. Another key thing that I found in tasting cigars is retrohaling. That's where you blow a little smoke through your mouth and you blow the rest through your nose by pushing your tongue up to the roof of your mouth. Even if it's just a tiny bit that comes out. You don't need to be that, we've talked about it on here before, but that fire-breathing dragon. A lot of times it's that subtle, just push through your nose when almost all the smoke is out of your mouth, and this eruption of flavor a lot of times comes out. Now, if it's a spicy, really strong cigar, it might be an eruption of other things like water coming out of your eyes or you hacking up a lung. But I find when you retrohale a little bit, that goes a long way into tasting the nuances and the deeper flavors within the cigar. All right. The Smoking Trey wants to know 3 people in the industry to make a dream team. Who would it be and why? Oh, man, that's difficult. All right, I could make a lot of dream teams in this industry. That's a really tough one. All right, here we go. I would take the blending profile flavor guruism from Dion from Illusione Cigars. I would take the brand concepting, visuals, storytelling, and also palette from Carson Sereno Cigars. And I would put them in a factory that they both have never worked in, which is Tabacalera La Isla, and where they also have access to almost any tobacco that they want in the world, where hostos can bring that kind of stuff in and just let them go to town. That would be the big 3 for me, and I think an amazing cigar would come out of that. All right, Zach Jones wants to know, Team Dan or Team Sean? I'm going Team Dan, baby. Bourbon Junkies, check them out. Brandon Mueller, 1323, wants to know, now that Dave is a blending guru, I am not. Let's have a big disclaimer here. What has been your favorite tobacco to work with? I love that question. One of the really cool things, and for those of you who are members of our Cigar Club Custom subscription, you guys have been able to witness this all firsthand. Drink break. Is I've had the ability to work with, this year alone, 6 different factories. And it's going to be 6 by December when we release the last iteration of Customs for the year. And in those 6 factories, which, by the way, are in 3 different countries, I've had access and the ability to work with a numerous amount of tobacco. Not to mention we do such small runs of only a few thousand cigars each time that there's really no tobacco I can't use because there's no limitation on if I don't need to scale it up to a 300,000 cigar production run. I can do these limited small batch releases with Customs. So I've tasted a lot of tobaccos. I'll start off by saying the most surprising one to me was the Cubra Brazil that I used when I worked with Darren Kofi from Principal Cigars at the Kellner Boutique Factory in the DR when we released Patriarch. The wrapper and the binder on there, as well as the fillers, which come from a lot of different areas of the Dominican Republic. But there was age on these. We had a Cubra Brazil tobacco in there. And we had another Dominican tobacco that the name is escaping me, but it was one I had never used before in blending. And it was, I believe, a 5-year aged tobacco. So a lot of the spice had left. It really became nuanced and rich and smooth and very sweet. That was some of the most fun I had in our Customs projects. And then another tobacco that my first time using it was with our initial release, and then I've used it in our 4th release of Perio with Hostos at La Isla, is Piloto Cubano, which is a pilot, which means like Cuban pilot seed, basically. It's a seed and tobacco varietal that's very popular in the Dominican Republic that was brought over from Cuba to start to test Cuban seeds on Dominican soil, and the name stuck, right? It was a pilot run. Now it's just called Piloto Cubano, and I've used it as Seco and as Viso, and it's got this incredible oaky, woody characteristic to it. And if it's a Seco, it's got a little bit of like drier wood and spice to it. If it's a Viso, it's a little more like a wet oak kind of wood, and it adds this layer of consistency, I find, to any blend that I've worked on with it. That's been a really exciting one. And then, of course, one of my favorites, a dream of mine from well before I worked in cigars, was to make a cigar at Aganorsa and use all Aganorsa tobacco, all Corojo 99 and Criollo 98, which is Cuban seed, all grown in Nicaragua in both Jalapa, Esteli, as well as Condega, and do a Puro with that. And that's what this one I'm smoking today is. Cigar Club Customs Volume 2 Macasso really encompasses a lot of the tobaccos I dreamed of working with since I really dove into cigars back in about 2014, 2015. So I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of these different tobaccos, factories, blenders who are the ones actually blending it. I can throw ideas at the table that they'll put together. A lot of them don't work. And then they'll be like, Dave, why don't we try this? If you're wanting this flavor profile, I've made you this one. Try that. Try this. And it's through smoking those puritos, which are individual tobacco leaves, and smoking test blends that you start to really find what you really love in a cigar. And our first 4 blends have kind of sat in that medium. Macasso, the most full-bodied of the 4. Now the 5th release that I'm doing at the La Corona factory in Nicaragua, where the Sereno cigar company makes all of their cigars. Now that I've started working there, I have access to even more full-bodied tobaccos, hardier, denser. Where it's going to be the most full-bodied cigar we've released with Customs is the one coming up in October. So by the way, if you're not signed up for that, you need to check it out ASAP. But all that being said, I've had the privilege of working with a lot of those tobaccos and companies, and just, having an incredible time smoking them blind, like I said earlier, taking that bias away and just looking at flavor and balance and consistency and trying to make the best cigar possible. So Brandon, thank you for that question, buddy. I greatly appreciate it. Okay. One final question that I know is going to take a couple minutes to go through. But before we do that, I want to talk real quickly about today's sponsor on our show. Support for the Cigar Club podcast is brought to you by Booyah, Manscaped. Manscaped.com. You guys can go check out the brand new Lawnmower 4.0. This thing is an absolute beast. A great way to shave your boys, keep it clean downstairs, is to purchase this Manscaped, and I can get you 20% off and free shipping worldwide with code CigarClub. So head to manscaped.com, check out the Lawnmower 4.0, not the 2.0, not the 3.0, but the 4.0. Use code CigarClub, you'll get 20% off and free shipping around the world. It is designed for groin grooming, and let me tell you one thing. Your balls will thank you. Okay. Thank you, Manscaped. If you guys haven't checked them out, I know you've heard these ads a couple times, but if you haven't done so yet, I really recommend you grab one of these. I use it. Griff uses it. Pew uses it. Everyone on our team is using these things, and we love them. And we wouldn't put them on the show if we didn't think their product was absolutely amazing. And it is. So check them out. And make sure you use that code so they know we sent you. It supports the show, supports the podcast, supports Cigar Club. All right. The big final question here, the one we've all been waiting for. Maybe not. This could be where you click off the episode today, but it's one I'm really excited to answer. It is, pulling it up now. Boop, boop, beep, boo. How did you get into the cigar industry? It's a loaded question, and I've talked about it plenty times before, but it's one that I think a lot of people relate with, because a lot of people were like me 2.5 years ago, cigar geeks, wanting to know everything about the process, dreamed of going to a factory, dreamed of working with brands that you fell in love with their cigars, with their tobacco, with the way that they blended. There's a lot of people, I think, in that boat. A lot of you that listen to this are in that same position. And for me, before I worked at Cigar Club, I remember spending hours upon hours Googling, watching videos, searching everything I could. How do you start a cigar brand? How do you blend a cigar? And when I started here at Cigar Club, our mission was added to, beyond just bringing amazing cigars to you all every single month that you would enjoy, introducing you to new brands, but introducing you to experiences in the cigar world that cameras had never gone before, that conversations that had never been had for the public that were not accessible before now. And there's a lot of brands that are on the forefront of that kind of new wave in cigars. And it's something that was really core to the new mission and here at Cigar Club that we wanted to share. And that comes from somebody who, in the beginning of 2019, was running an Instagram page called Society Cigars, taking photos of all the boutique brands I was hunting for, whether that was Tatuaje or Warped or Illusione, Foundation, all these amazing brands that dropped me down this rabbit hole of cigars that I couldn't get out of, no matter how hard I tried. It led me to meeting up with Jeff at Cigar Club, where he was running, that he had launched in 2016 and was running with a very small, nimble team. And I just reached out because I loved the idea and the concept of receiving new cigars catered to me that I could leave reviews on and feedback and get new ones every month. I loved how that whole process worked. So reached out to him about shooting some photos for his box, and hey, just send me some free cigars. That's all I want. You don't need to pay me. So it started with that, just a ploy to get free sticks. And months later, after doing a lot of work with Jeff and Cigar Club, the opportunity presented itself as me and my wife were moving up to Cincinnati, Ohio, where we were relocating from South Florida. Sidebar, interesting time to move into the cigar industry when you've lived in Fort Lauderdale, Florida your whole life. You know, you're an hour from every major cigar brand's headquarters and factories. And you move up to Cincinnati, Ohio, which has an incredible cigar culture, but not a lot of places to sit down and smoke cigars. Definitely no factories here, and no real brand headquarter presence here either. But we move up there. I get connected through to Jeff when I was going down to Florida for a wedding. We meet up for a beer and a cigar, and a quick beer turns into a 2-hour conversation, which turns into me sharing my passion for this industry and cigars and what I'd want to do to kind of bridge that gap between consumer and factory, consumer and retailer, consumer and brand. And 2 or 3 weeks later, I was on the Cigar Club team, and we hit the ground running. That was back in October of 2019, so literally 2 years ago. From that point on, I had this list of things I wanted to do if I ever worked in cigars, of cigars I wanted to blend, of tasting notes I wanted in a cigar, of brands I'd love to meet, places I wanted to go. And we began doing all of those things. Within 3 months, I was standing in the factory in Esteli, Nicaragua with Danny DeFabio from Rodriguez Cigars and with Jeff, our co-founder and CEO here at Cigar Club. And we were learning the process of blending cigars, of sorting tobacco, of growing tobacco, of working with the correct primings and seed lines to create blends that people would enjoy. I got to see that 300 people's hands touched a cigar before it made it to my mouth or even to the humidor at my local cigar lounge. My eyes were opened because it was things that you can't find online. It was experiences that you can only truly enjoy by being there. We left that trip inspired and excited, and only about a month later launched CigarClub Customs, which for me has been kind of my baby and my passion project outside of the curation of Cigar Club boxes and all the other really amazing partnerships we do. Is the fact that Customs is the story of people saying yes to us at Cigar Club, who have, no family ties to the industry, young online company, just cigar nerds. And they're like, sure, if you want to make a blend, you can come do it here. And if you want to make a blend, you can come do it at our factory, in our factory. And so we kicked it off. And year to date, we've released 6 customs. We launched the subscription this past year once we saw how well the 2 first releases we did went. And we have no plan on stopping it. The plans we have is to invite more of our team in to get that hands-on blending time that I've been so excited and lucky enough to have, and to start sharing new expressions of tobacco, new stories. Customs is all about storytelling and people, and sharing info about the factory, sharing info about the people rolling your cigars, and trying out new things in limited batches just for our Customs members. So 3 months into working here, I'm in Esteli, Nicaragua. A few months after that, I'm spending, every 4 or 5 weeks I'm in Miami, sitting down with brands, getting to know them, hearing their story, and then sharing those stories, sharing new cigars, new boutique brands that people have never heard of. And our Cigar Club family, each of you listening, have taken those brands, and what you've done is you supported them. You didn't ask why there wasn't just Monte Cristo or Romeo and Julieta in your boxes. You've seen new brands like Jeremy Jack Cigars or Sereno Cigars or Rodriguez Cigars. You've seen them in your box, and you've accepted them, and you've smoked them and realized how absolutely amazing each and every one of these cigar brands we carry in here are. And then you get to see them and meet those people, whether it's on our podcast or if it's on the Griff and Dave show every Friday at 4 o'clock on YouTube, or different YouTube series and videos that we've done. There's so many different outlets that we've had the opportunity to bring you guys behind the curtain. And that's the goal here. I got into this industry so I could see behind the curtain. And now I'm staying in this industry because I want to bring you all with me behind the curtain as well. So as you can tell, I get pretty fired up about this and about that question. I think the future of cigars is so exciting. It's going to be bringing people behind the scenes and sharing with them all these experiences. We've talked about it on the podcast at length, and we did a whole episode on it, but we've got our first ever factory experience box that's going to drop in about 2 weeks, where you all will be able to purchase the box and actually see what it's like to blend a cigar. You'll get your box. There'll be 4 individual puritos, which are individual tobacco leaves rolled up that you can smoke to taste what each of them tastes like. And then the finished blend, there'll be 3 finished blends in a Toro size that use all 4 of those tobaccos in it, that you can then smoke and see, oh, wow, I can taste the Corojo 99 Viso. That what I tasted there, I can taste it in the cigar. I wish there was more. I wish there was less. You'll get to kind of tweak it yourself and see what that's like. So we've got a great video coming with that too, where I sat down with Hostos as he walked me through it, and subsequently walked each of you through it. For those of you that end up purchasing that box, more experiences like that. The barrel picks we've done with Few Spirits. We've got another one coming up, hopefully before the end of the year, where we're going to pick a rye barrel, bottle it just for Cigar Club, and ship it all out to anybody who wants to experience more about whiskey. So we'll be picking that barrel, hopefully with a handful of you listening. Stay tuned on podcasts and on YouTube and Instagram to see how on earth you can be a part of picking a whiskey barrel, because that's going to be amazing. We did it last year. We had 10 guys from Cigar Club come onto a Zoom lounge. We all picked the barrel, bottled it, and everybody was able to purchase a bottle of whiskey that they picked. It's an exciting time, I think, to be a cigar consumer. It's a really exciting time to be a part of Cigar Club. I know we still have 3 exclusive releases that are coming out this year. We've got Pinkies Out. Here it is right here if you guys are watching on YouTube. If not, get over to YouTube and check this out. They're going to come in 10-count bundles, black paper with the cool Pinkies Out sticker on the front. It's a new size called the Pinky, 4.5 by 48, pigtail cap, closed foot. We're going to be launching this one in person at our very, very good friends, the Smokestack, over in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So more details on the launch party for that, but I hope to see some of you guys there. We'll have some special things for any Cigar Club people that show up that night to be a part of such an exciting release and event for us. We've got a cigar exclusive with Fratello Cigars coming out, and then with Aganorsa, the Guardian of the Farm Ranger, which is our 5.5 by 48 box press rendition of my favorite cigar from Aganorsa, which is Guardian of the Farm. And then we still have 2 more customs to release this year. There's just so many exciting things going on. I'm so glad that you guys are here as part of that journey. I hope there's a little more insight into blending and my cigar journey up until this point, how you can taste more in cigars. Some great questions came through today. If you ever have more, like I said, please feel free to reach out on Instagram or shoot us an email, dave@cigarclub.com. I'm happy to answer those and to give you guys an even more in-depth look into cigars every single week, both here on the podcast and through our box subscription, customs, and of course, the lovely Griffin Dave show every Friday at 4 o'clock. All right. This has been great. I appreciate you all. I'm going to keep enjoying my Makasso. If you're in the car driving somewhere long, enjoy your drive. If you're at work, sneaking off a quick podcast with one earbud in, finish your workday strong. Or if you're just at home hanging out, smoking a cigar, listening to me ramble, thank you for being here and for being a part of what we're building at Cigar Club. We're going to call this episode the State of the Union, maybe. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Ramsey will get it covered. But Cigar Club family, as always, you're so appreciated. And we love to be part of this community that you guys are building, that you're a part of. Make sure to like this video if you're watching on YouTube. Drop a comment. It means a lot to us to know some of your favorite parts or other questions that you had on today's podcast. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music or Google Podcasts, I know there's at least one person out there on Google Podcasts. Make sure you download this video, save it. All of that stuff goes a long way into helping us produce these every single week. We're also on TikTok now, so check it out at Cigar Club Family. Okay, until next time, I am Dave with Cigar Club. Happy smoking. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Peace!